ईश्वर परमकृष्ण सच्चिदानंद विग्रह अनादिरादिर्गोविंद सर्वकारण कारणम.
So this being our very first video on the revived version of this channel, we will aim to explain certain very basic aspects of Sanatana Dharma via this video and via our future videos. This channel has been inactive for some time and we're happy to be back with a revived version and a revived vision for what we aim to put up over here. So we will be putting up content over here that aims at explaining the basics of Sanatana Dharma and its relevance in everyday life. It's the basics of its traditions, its schools, its scriptures, and how Sanatana Dharma is, when a person within Sanatana Dharma itself views Sanatana Dharma, what kind of a religion it actually is. Well, you might be seeing this purely out of interest. It also needs to be stated that this channel's main target are followers of Sanatana Dharma, and so if you don't happen to be a member of this religion, there's a good chance that a good amount of what's being said over here will not be directly relatable to you, but that's just something I'm putting out over there for you to know in advance. Now, this video, the topic for today, is the difference between the terms Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism. Are these terms really the same thing? If they are, then why are there two terms? Why not just one term? There could have been just one term instead. Now, the answer to this is a little complicated. It's not a very simple answer. Let's see the more popular term, Hinduism. Hinduism as a term is a little complicated in its historical usage. There exist several Sanskrit sources which do use this term. According to Puri Shankaracharya, much respected Puri Shankaracharya, the Kalika Purana speaks about the word Hindu, at least since the medieval ages. The Sharana Ghadara Paddhati of the 14th century, according to the respected Puri Shankaracharya, calls Hindus as the followers of Veda Marga. Apparently, Bhavishya Purana uses this word. Bharahaspatya Samhita also is said to use this word. There are several other texts also. Vriddha Smriti, Madhava Bhashya, etc. They apparently do make usage of this word in one level or another. Now the point is, if we see the word in its modern usage, we need to ascertain if these sources are the origin for the usage of that term. The manner in which this term is used today does not spring from these sources. But how is that possible? On the one hand, we are saying that these sources do contain references to this word, but how is it that the manner in which they are used today is not directly related to these sources? One needs to understand that while a rather vague and lesser used term called Hindu exists in Sanskrit, the current usage of this word Hindu is not based on these few Sanskrit-based mentions, because the people who started popularizing the usage of this term Hindu barely even knew about the existence of these sources. These sources themselves are pretty vague, and they are, I won't say pretty vague, they are the sources that are known only to scholars. So from a public perspective, they are pretty vague. Scholars and very, very high-ranking students of Sanskrit would know these sources, but the layperson, how would he care, or how would he even know that these sources are actually mentioning a certain word called Hindu and that we must identify ourselves on the basis of that usage? No. No, the sources that I have mentioned do mention that the the person called a Hindu is a person who follows the Veda Marga, lives in a place called Hindu Desha from Himalayas to Indu Sarovara, etc. But like I said, how many people will even know this unless they're scholars themselves? Now one needs to understand that while this usage of the term Hindu from these sources is pretty vague, the current usage, the sense in which this word is used today, is not based on these few Sanskrit sources. Because, well, like I said, the general people never knew that these sources existed. In other words, although the word Hindu exists in certain Sanskrit sources, pretty much nobody knows that the word in its connotation today is used in an entirely non-Sanskrit sense. If we take the word Hindu in its modern and current usage, this word does not occur in the scriptures of Hinduism. In fact, the modern usage of the word Hindu comes from certain Persian sources, such as the Zoroastrian Avestan language scriptures. This word was applied to the lands around the Sindhu River by ancient Iranian tribes, from whom this word then later on was inherited by Iran's Achaemenid emperors, and so the Avestan term Hapta Hindava, referring to Hapta Hindavo, referring to the 7 Sindhus, was adopted into the old Persian language as Hapta Hindush, in which sense it occurs in Emperor Darius I's Behistun inscription, and it calls this Hapta Hindush as one of King Darius' easternmost provinces. The Parthian Empire that took over the control of the Iranian lands from the Seleucid Greeks, they adopted this old Persian term in their language and made it into Hapt Hinduk. The Sassanid Iranians inherited this term from the Parthian Iranians, and they started calling this land as Hapt Hind, from where the Arabs who conquered Iran got their term Haft Hind. They all refer to the same, Sapta Sindhu. Now, this Haft Hind, from its pre-medieval Persian Hapt Hind, ended up becoming into the Hindustan that we know today. So, the Hindustan that got popularized as a term in the modern usage of the term Hindu is not based on the Sanskrit sources, by and large, that we just covered, but it's rather based on this particular term, this particular Persian usage of the term Hindu. Now, it is in this particular sense, this Persian sense, that during the Islamic eras in India, this term gained widespread popularity. And as such, it was used as a very loose term by various Islamic historians such as Abul Qasim Farishta, who refer to, the various inhabitants of the subcontinent who followed some kind of traditional pre-Islamic religion. In time, it started referring to a person who's not a Muslim, who's not a Parsi, who's not a Christian, who's not a Jew. And it made little distinction beyond this rather vague and rather flimsy description. In fact, the Indian constitution is rather ambiguous and erroneous in its description of Hindus. According to the Indian constitutional description of the Hindus and the definition of who is a Hindu, it says a person who is not a Muslim, Parsi, Christian or Jew and is governed by Hindu law is a Hindu. Now, can I say that an atheist is a Hindu? The Hindu scriptures themselves say atheism is outside the Vedas. It is antithetical to the Vedas, whereas the Indian constitution is saying that as long as an atheist is not identifying himself as a Muslim, a Parsi, a Christian or a Jew and is governed by Hindu law, he can be called a Hindu. Can I call animals as Hindus if I say, okay, this particular dog over here is being governed by Hindu law, it's a Hindu, just because it's not a Muslim, a Parsi, a Christian or a Jew? This definition of the term Hindu in present day is rather ambiguous, rather erroneous and rather hazy and rather flimsy. One can argue that several Sanskrit sources from the Middle Ages at the very least refer to this term Hindu in a Sanskrit setting. However, do modern Hindus use this word with this knowledge? No. Modern Hindus probably don't even know about the existence of these Sanskrit texts. Modern Hindus have started using the term Hindu only on the basis of its popularized medieval version, which was popularized under the various Islamic rulers of India who inherited this term from their Persian predecessors. It becomes very obvious that there's a lot of misconception and observational errors and biases surrounding this term. And so this term, well, while it can be used, it's not wrong to use this term. We can see that there are many shortcomings that are left unanswered and will be left unanswered when it comes to the usage of the term Hindu and Hinduism. Now, if you look at the term Sanatana Dharma, there are countless occurrences of this term across Vedanta scripture, the Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, writings of all the acharyas of all the major Vedantic schools. All of them repeatedly refer to the path shown by the Vedas and the path shown by the various acharyas who have been following the Vedas as directed by Vedavyasa himself. All of them use the term Sanatana Dharma. What does this term mean? Simply put, it means the eternal Dharma. As we know in Sanskrit, the word Sanatana means eternal. But in a more Vedantic sense, eternal refers to something that does not have a beginning and does not have an end. Something that has always existed, is existing, and will always exist. Therefore, eternal over here means something that has always existed, will always exist, and is existing. It has neither a start nor an end. And what is this dharma? This word dharma simply, in very layman's terms, it is simply translated as that which is righteous. But righteous according to what? Who defines what's righteous? Since we're talking about Vedanta and what the Vedas and Vedanta scripture define as dharma, we will have to use the definition that they give for dharma rather than using our own layman's definition. Dharma refers simply to that which the Vedas call as righteous. So, Sanatana Dharma means the eternal righteous path shown by the Vedas. This term is really that simple. Now, this term, while also being Sanskrit in origin, tells us something else. It not only originates from the scripture of this religion, but is used by Vedavyasa and so many other sages who, across the Itihasas and the Puranas, to refer to Dharma itself. In essence, the term Sanatana Dharma is used by Vedantic scriptures to describe themselves and is used by Vedavyasa and his disciples to describe the path that they follow. And since all Hindus today are supposed to follow what Vedavyasa has shown as Dharma, would it not be inherently superior as a practice to use the term that Vedavyasa and his disciples used to describe their own path rather than to use a more ambiguous and a more vague term, despite the fact that that term's origins can also be described as something that does have a Sanskrit origin? Note over here at this point that we are not really concerned only with the origin of the word and the language where the word originated. We are not really concerned only about if the word is Sanskrit in origin or not. We are also concerned about the kind of setting in which it has been historically used and what all forms of usage of this particular word actually give it a sense of more consistency and what make its usage superior to the usage of some other term. The term Hindu in its current modern usage is fraught with legal misconceptions of definition, historically mixed origins. Well, for some of the origins are foreign in nature, whereas you do have some texts from Sanatana Dharma itself, so you do have some dharmic texts itself that do speak about this term Hindu occurring in Sanskrit. But, like I said, modern Hindus do not use it in that sense. They use it in the more popular sense that got popularized largely during the Islamic era. So, for these reasons, these rather hazy and confusing reasons that have come down from history for the usage of this word Hindu, The usage of the phrase Sanatana Dharma to describe this particular religion is one, simpler, two, more consistent with what Vedavyasa himself taught, and three, it is a direct description of this religion itself of itself. It's a more consistent self-description of this religion from its own scriptures. With this, we will finish as to why Sanatana Dharma as a term so vastly differs from the term Hindu, and what is the setting and the nature in which both these terms have been used. We will see in future videos as to the various connotations and the various kinds of traditions and the various practices that those who do identify as Sanatanis and those who identify as Hindus, what all they follow in these regards. This channel will further delve, after defining certain basic aspects of Sanatana Dharma, it will delve into the various schools of Vedanta and the various traditions followed thereof. So we will be covering about all those topics more in detail in our future videos. If you liked this video and wish for more such content, I request you to please subscribe to our channel and click the bell button. Thank you for watching. Shriman Narayanaya Namo Namaha.